20 years old, surrounded by enemies, the greatest empire on earth expected him to fail. 11 years later, he ruled almost the entire known world. He crossed deserts that swallowed armies. He faced a force 10 times the size of his own, and in every single battle he ever fought, he never lost. Not once. How? Today we're answering one question. How did a 20-year-old king defeat the greatest empire on earth without ever losing a major battle? This isn't a biography, this is an investigation. Because by the end of this video, you won't just know what Alexander did. You'll understand how a single young man convinced tens of thousands of soldiers to follow him to the edge of the known world and beyond. Stay until the end. The final battle changes everything you think you know about him. Macedon, 336 BC, a wedding feast, torches, wine, laughter, and then a knife, King Philip II, conqueror of Greece. The most powerful man on the continent falls in front of his own guests, dead in the chaos. One name is whispered through the halls. Alexander, his son, 20 years old, no army of his own, no proven loyalty from his father's generals, no guarantee the throne will even survive the week. The Greek cities that Philip had crushed into submission, Athens, Thebes, Corinth, smell weakness. They start to celebrate. A boy king. Easy to remove. Alexander does something nobody expects. He doesn't wait. He doesn't ask permission. He marches south with a striking force before Greece can even organize a resistance, and stands at the gates of Thebes, the city that dared to rebel first. The message is brutal and simple. Surrender or be erased. Thebes refuses. Alexander levels the city. Every building, every wall. Only a single house is spared, the home of the poet Pindar, because even in destruction, Alexander wants the world to know he respects greatness. The other Greek cities go silent overnight. The boy king is not a boy anymore. But this is nothing, because 4,000 kilometers to the east sits the largest empire humanity has ever built. Persia. Its territory stretches from Egypt to India. Its treasury holds more gold than Alexander has ever seen. Its army, when fully assembled, can field hundreds of thousands of men. Alexander has roughly 40,000. Everyone tells him to wait. Build strength. Consolidate power at home first. Alexander doesn't listen. In 334 BC, he crosses into Asia. According to legend, the moment his ship touches the shore, he throws a spear into the sand and declares the entire continent a gift from the gods, his to take. Ancient sources love this story. Modern historians treat it as legend more than fact. But the message behind it is real. He is not planning a raid, he is planning a conquest. The river Granicus. Persian cavalry lines the opposite bank. Steep terrain. The high ground. Every tactical advantage belongs to them. Alexander's own generals beg him to wait for morning. To cross somewhere safer, Alexander ignores every warning. He rides straight into the river. Arrows rain down. Horses scream. Persian nobles charge into the water to cut him down personally, because if they kill Alexander here, the invasion dies with him. A blade comes down toward Alexander's skull. At the last possible second, one of his companions, Clytus, intercepts the strike and saves his life. Alexander survives. His cavalry breaks through. The Persian line collapses. His first battle on Asian soil, and he has already looked death directly in the eyes. This victory does something more important than open a path forward. It proves something to his own men. This isn't a king who commands from a hilltop. This is a king who bleeds first. Word spreads through the ranks and through the cities of Asia Minor. Greek city after Greek city, under Persian rule, starts opening its gates without a fight. The map begins to change. Persia has a new problem. King Darius III, ruler of the empire, realizes this isn't a border raid. This is an existential threat. He assembles a massive royal army and marches to crush Alexander personally. At Issus in 333 BC, the two forces meet. Persian numbers dwarf the Macedonians. Some ancient accounts claim 10 to 1. Modern historians believe the real ratio was smaller. But Darius still commands the larger force. On ground of his choosing, Alexander does something almost insane. Instead of hiding, instead of playing defense, he drives his cavalry straight at the one target that matters most. Darius, the Persian king, watching his personal guard collapse under the charge, panics. He flees the battlefield, his own chariot, his royal cloak, even his family, left behind in the chaos. An empire that stretches across 3 continents. And its king just ran. Alexander doesn't chase him down immediately. Instead, he does something calculated. He turns south. Egypt, city after city, surrenders, except one, Tyre, an island fortress surrounded by walls, protected by the sea. No army in history has ever taken it. Alexander refuses to accept impossible. He orders his men to build a causeway, a solid land bridge, straight across the ocean toward the walls of Tyre. It takes 7 months of siege, war engines, naval battles, and relentless engineering. Tyre falls. Word of what happened there spreads across the entire region like a warning. When Alexander finally reaches Egypt, the country doesn't resist at all. It welcomes him as a liberator from Persian rule. Egyptian priests crown him pharaoh. The boy who once controlled a single kingdom in northern Greece is now ruler of Macedon, master of Asia Minor, and living god-king of Egypt. The map keeps growing, but the real empire, the true target, is still ahead. Gaugamela, 331 BC. Darius has had 2 years to prepare for this exact moment. He chooses the battlefield himself, a flat, open plain, perfect for his overwhelming numbers and heavy cavalry, to encircle the smaller Macedonian force completely. He even has his engineers level the ground further, to give his scythed war chariots a clean, unobstructed run straight through Alexander's lines. The Persian army camps in the open the night before, torches burning across miles of desert. Alexander's own officers look out at that ocean of firelight, and, for the first time, some of them are afraid. They urge a night attack. Strike now. While confusion still favors the smaller force, Alexander refuses. I will not steal my victory, he reportedly tells them. He sleeps. The next morning, the 2 largest armies of the ancient world stand facing each other across an open plain. The Persian line stretches far beyond both edges of Alexander's formation, threatening to fold around him from every side. Alexander doesn't panic. He does something almost nobody expects. Instead of matching Darius's line for line, he angles his own forces at an angle, deliberately drawing Persian cavalry away from the center, opening a gap. Then he leads his companion cavalry directly through that gap, straight at Darius. Again, the scythed chariots charge, and Alexander's infantry simply opens lanes, letting them pass harmlessly through, then cuts down the drivers from behind. In the center of the battlefield, amid dust, blood, and screaming horses, Alexander and his cavalry punch straight through toward the Persian king a second time. Darius, watching his personal guard fall exactly like they did at Issus, makes the same choice. He runs. This time, he doesn't stop running. The largest army ever assembled to stop one man breaks the Persian Empire, the empire that ruled from Egypt to India for 200 years, has just lost its capital defense. In a single afternoon, Babylon opens its gates without resistance. Susa surrenders. Persepolis, the ceremonial heart of the Persian Empire, was next. Alexander is no longer a foreign invader. He is the new ruler of Persia itself. But he doesn't stop. He pushes further east than any Western conqueror ever had, through mountain passes, deserts, and regions that don't even appear on Greek maps. Bactria, Sogdiana, and finally, India. At the river Hydaspes, he faces King Porus, a ruler with something Alexander has never fought before. War elephants, dozens of them, towering over the battlefield, terrifying enough to break cavalry formations on sight. Alexander adapts. Again, he splits his force, crosses the river secretly at night through a storm, and attacks from an angle Porus never expected. The battle is brutal. one of the hardest of Alexander's career. But by the end, Porus is captured. When brought before Alexander and asked how he wishes to be treated, Porus answers simply, like a king. Alexander is so impressed. He doesn't just spare him. He gives Porus back his kingdom and expands it. The empire keeps growing. The scale becomes almost impossible to comprehend. Macedon, Greece, Egypt, the entire Persian Empire, parts of India. But here's what most people don't know. The empire stops growing, not because Alexander loses a battle. It stops because his own army, men who have marched over 17,000 kilometers, fought for 8 straight years, and crossed deserts and mountain ranges without end, finally refuses to go further. At the river Hephaestus, his soldiers stand their ground, not against an enemy, against their own king. They are done. For the first time in his life, Alexander faces an opponent he cannot defeat with a cavalry charge, his own men's exhaustion. He gives in. He turns back. Babylon, 323 BC, Alexander is 32 years old. He has built an empire spanning 3 continents. He has never lost a major battle in his life, and then after a fever that lasts less than 2 weeks, he dies. No named heir. No clear plan for what comes next. His generals, men who fought beside him from Granicus to India, turn on each other almost immediately, tearing the empire into pieces within a generation. The empire he built with a sword doesn't survive him. But something else does. The cities he founded, more than 20 of them, many still named Alexandria to this day, become centers of trade, learning, and culture for centuries. The blending of Greek and Persian, Greek and Egyptian, Greek and Indian cultures that followed his campaigns reshapes the ancient world so deeply that historians gave it its own name, the Hellenistic Age. So how did a 20-year-old king conquer the greatest empire on earth without ever losing a battle? Not through numbers. He was almost always outnumbered. Not through inherited strength alone. He inherited a kingdom, not an empire. He won because he was willing to cross the river first, because he studied every enemy and adapted before they could, and because he convinced tens of thousands of men again and again across thousands of kilometers that following him was worth the risk. Nobody believed he could win. He never lost. If Alexander had lived another 10 years, how different would our world look today? Which historical leader should we explore next? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to keep living history instead of just learning it, you know what to do.